Hi subscribers and welcome back to the channel. My name is Dominic James Murray, CEO and founder here at Cameron James. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the top 5 questions we get about international SIPPs, debunking some myths and giving you as much information as you need. If you're considering a pension transfer to a SIPP, if you already have an international SIPP, you can book in below via Calendly for a free consultation with ourselves. We can either put together a free advice report for you if it's a DC scheme, or a paid DB report for you, or do a comparison if you're already inside an international SIPP to see if we can potentially reduce your costs. And as always, please like, subscribe with the big red button below to see more future content from ourselves. So the number one question we get from clients about international SIPPs is, what is an international SIPP and is it different from a UK SIPP? So to start off with, there is no technically an international SIPP. An international SIPP is still a UK SIPP. It's registered in the UK. All SIPPs in the world must be UK regulated and based inside the UK. The differentiation between a UK SIPP, as you could refer to it, so for example, AJ Bell, Fidelity, etc., and an international SIPP, such as Novia Global and iPensions, is that an international SIPP is generally speaking catered towards working with people as non-UK residents. So, for example, AJ Bell, Fidelity, etc., 99% of their clients are in the United Kingdom. They don't need to search for clients outside of the UK because that's their market and they don't need to focus on it. An international SIPP, however, will allow you to use your non-UK address to apply for that SIPP solution. 98 or 99% of UK SIPP providers will not accept you as a new client if you do not have a UK address. You have to be a UK resident to work with the majority of UK SIPP. So to clarify, first of all, a UK SIPP, an international SIPP, is actually exactly the same thing. The international SIPP term is just used more as a marketing term to be focused on people who are no longer a UK resident. Second question we get, what is the difference in taxation between a UK SIPP and an international SIPP? So with a UK SIPP, you will be taxed at source, generally speaking, on any withdrawals you make from that pension scheme, typically a SIPP. The reason for this is, imagine in the United Kingdom, if everyone took money out of their SIPPs, no one paid tax at source, and then they had to pay their tax later. HMRC would have a massive headache on their hands. And how would you stop someone taking $500,000 outside of their SIPP and then claiming the tax back from them at a later point in time? It doesn't work like that. It'd be like paying you your salary and then saying, oh, you need to declare your tax at the end, you need to pay us your tax at the end of the year. It would be a mess of a system. It's actually how the tax system works in France compared to the UK. With an international SIPP, however, they understand that you are a non-UK resident. If you apply for an NT tax code, which we can take you through the process and advise you how to do it, you can actually have that NT tax code applied to your international SIPP, meaning when you make your withdrawals, they will be paid out to you at a 100% gross rate, and you will then declare any taxes that are required on withdrawals from your international SIPP in your country of residence at that point in time. So for example, if you're residing in France and you need to pay your tax in France, your international SIPP, Novia or iPensions, would pay 100% to you. You would then declare any income that needs to be declared on your French tax return. The next question we get a lot is, what about cost? Number 3. So what I can say in cost is that international SIPP providers, generally speaking, can be slightly more expensive than a UK SIPP. Most UK SIPP providers now, if you have more than £100,000 on account with them, a lot of them will give the SIPP to you for free because they think, okay, we're going to get the assets under management. Some of them might charge £100 an annum, £200 an annum per UK SIPP is kind of rare. It's normally below that. In the international SIPP market, the annual cost for a SIPP is around £180 per annum or £200 per annum. This is just because it's a little bit more expensive in terms of running an international SIPP, some of the work and stuff they have to do with NT tax codes, etc. So the cost is very, very close. If you have a very small pension pot or a relatively small pension pot, say £20,000, the difference between a UK SIPP and an international SIPP could be quite sizable because you might have, I don't know, £50 in the UK versus £200 international. When you have a much larger pension pot though, £500,000 or £1 million, it's almost an insignificant cost. 0 in the UK or £200 for an international SIPP. If the international SIPP has benefits for you and allows you to have greater control and freedom over your money as a non-UK resident compared to a UK SIPP. The fourth question we get is, well, what about investments? Is an international SIPP, does that mean it's going to be invested in international stocks and equities compared to a UK SIPP, which would be invested in safer assets like the UK? Absolutely not. So at Cameron James, we advise UK SIPPs for our UK resident clients. We advise non-UK SIPPs or international SIPPs for our non-UK resident clients, typically speaking. However, the underlying portfolio that we use in the two is exactly the same. Same cost, same annualized return, same equity weighting, same funds, same asset management, completely identical. So there actually can be no difference in terms of the underlying performance of the two or what the assets might be invested in. Again, back to point 3, the only difference is the international SIPP might have a slightly higher trustee fee on an annual basis compared to the UK SIPP. So that's point number 4. And finally, the biggest question we get in terms of international SIPP versus UK SIPP is what happens if I then return to the UK with my international SIPP? Well, actually, as I said from the beginning, your international SIPP is not international in structure. It is a UK regulated, FCA regulated SIPP. So when you go back to the UK, you can continue holding your international SIPP. A UK resident could apply for an international SIPP if they wish to. Generally speaking, there's no requirement for them though, because they don't plan on living outside of the UK. They don't need to apply for an NT tax code. They don't need to use a residential address, which might not be accepted by a typical UK scheme. Guys, I hope this has been useful for you, and you've obviously been able to take a little bit of information here versus SIPP versus international SIPP. One other bonus point I can give you, which I've just thought of, is in terms of the currency as well. Now, inside a UK SIPP, it can only be denominated in GBP. So this is all fine. If you live in the United Kingdom, it's very highly unlikely that you would need euros or US dollars or some other currency for your retirement because you plan to retire in the UK, your costs are going to be in GBP, no problem. If, for example, though, you live in Europe or you live in America, you have your GBP pension, maybe £500,000 from your final salary, you transferred into your international SIPP. You might say to me though, Dominic, yeah, I remember the days when it was 2 to 1 with the pound and US dollar. Even not that long ago, it was 1.45. Now at the time of recording, it was down at 1.23 yesterday when I was looking. So a lot of clients might say, I don't really like that currency risk. What happens if it goes to 1 to 1? Not that I'm saying that's going to happen, but I would rather not take that currency risk, and maybe I'd like to keep 250,000 GBP, convert it into USD inside my international SIPP, invest it in USD, and then keep the GBP separate inside my international SIPP. So GBP investments and USD investments. Then at the time of retirement, they could decide, where do I want to draw down the assets from? Say GBP has rallied and it's now worth 1.5 against US dollars, they might want to draw down the GBP first, it's good exchange rate. If it's gone down to 1 to 1, they might say, well, I'll take the USD first because you know what, my health was deteriorated, maybe I think I'm going to go back to the UK so I can have the NHS service, then I'll use my GBP when I'm back in the UK. So gives you much more currency flexibility inside an international SIPP rather than a UK SIPP. Guys, I look forward to any questions you have about this and talking about your pensions. As I mentioned before, if you want to book in via the Calendar link, or you can go over to our website as well, click the Contact Us button and follow the same steps and leave your inquiry there. One of our advisors will be in touch for your free initial consultation. And generally speaking, if it's not a final salary scheme, we will be able to put together a free advice report for you to understand in advance exactly which SIPP provider, SIPP or international SIPP we would use, the underlying cost, the underlying platform, annualized return, everything you need to know to make an informed decision before deciding to work with us and trust us with your pension. Guys, thank you very much for watching today. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and take care with your UK pension assets as always.